Imagine standing on Earth when the countdown has just begun. The sky is not blue and peaceful. The air feels heavy. The ground still remembers fire. Oceans are wounded. Forests are broken. Life has survived, but barely. This is 252 million years ago, long before Tyrannosaurus rex, long before Triceratops lowered its horns, long before any giant footsteps shook the land. The world has just passed through the worst extinction in its history. Not a bad season, not a regional disaster, a planetary collapse. Most marine life vanished. Many land animals disappeared. The food webs that had taken ages to build were torn apart. And in this burned, unstable world, dinosaurs did not arrive as king. They arrived as survivors. Small bodies, fast legs, sharp senses, a future hidden inside fragile bones. That is a strange beginning. This is why the story matters. Dinosaurs did not win because the world was gentle. They rose because the world was unstable. After the great dying, ecosystems were full of openings. Old rulers had fallen. New rules had not fully formed. In that uncertainty, small design advantages could grow into destiny. A slightly better stance, a lighter body, a more efficient stride, a better way to chase insects, small prey, or opportunity. Evolution rarely announces its winners early. It hides them in ordinary-looking bodies. The first dinosaurs would not have looked like future emperors. They would have looked easy to ignore. That is the trap. History often begins with something small enough to miss. The age of dinosaurs did not start with a roar. It started with a recovery. It started with empty spaces. It started with the planet asking one brutal question: who can adapt now? At first, the answer was not obvious. Early dinosaurs were not the biggest animals around. They were not the strongest. Many were about the size of a large dog. Some were lighter than a modern human. Creatures like Eoraptor moved through a harsh Triassic landscape. They were quick, alert, and built for efficiency. Their world was Pangaea, one enormous supercontinent. Across huge regions, the climate was hot and dry. Seasons could be extreme. Inland deserts stretched beneath a punishing sun. Water was precious. Shade was rare. Survival belonged to animals that could move well and waste little. This is where one small advantage mattered. Dinosaurs held their legs more directly under their bodies. Many crocodile-like reptiles sprawled with limbs angled to the sides. That difference sounds simple, but simple things can change history. A body lifted above straight legs can breathe and run more efficiently. It can travel farther. It can turn energy into speed with less waste. In a brutal world, that can be enough. Not enough to rule overnight, but enough to stay in the race. The Triassic was also a test of patience. No single generation saw the whole transformation. The change was too slow for any living animal to understand. A lineage gains a little ground. A competitor loses a little ground. A drought favors one body plan. A new food source favors another. Then after enough time, the map of life looks different. This is where deep time becomes powerful. It turns small biological choices into world-changing patterns. A foot placed under the body is not dramatic, but repeat that advantage for millions of years. Now it becomes a doorway. Now it becomes a dynasty. For millions of years, dinosaurs were only one group among many. Crocodile-line archosaurs were powerful competitors. Large predators already stalked the land. Other reptiles owned many ecological spaces. The dinosaurs were rising quietly, step by step, generation by generation. Then the planet changed again. Around 201 million years ago, another extinction struck. Many rival groups declined or disappeared. The door did not open politely. It was blasted open by crisis. And dinosaurs walked through it. This is where the countdown moves into the Jurassic. The world becomes greener. Pangaea begins to split apart. The single giant landmass slowly cracks into separate pieces. New coastlines appear. Seas push into new spaces. Climate patterns shift. In many regions, life becomes wetter and richer. Huge fern forests spread. Conifers, cycads, and ginkgos fill the landscape. The planet starts to look less like a furnace. It starts to look like a kingdom. And now the dinosaurs begin to change scale. Small runners are no longer the whole story. Giant plant eaters rise above the trees. Sauropods stretch their necks into the sky. Brachiosaurus becomes a living tower. Its front legs lift its shoulders high. Its neck reaches into branches other animals cannot touch. To stand beside it would be to stand beside moving architecture, a heartbeat inside a mountain of muscle. These giants did not need to chase their world. They could feed from it at a different height. That was power. The Jurassic also reminds us that size is not just spectacle. A sauropod body was a system. Long neck, huge gut, pillar-like legs, and constant feeding. Every part had to work with the others. A giant animal cannot live on drama. It lives on plumbing, balance, breathing, and digestion. That makes the image more impressive, not less. The true wonder is not that these giants were large. The wonder is that their bodies made largeness possible. They were not fantasy creatures placed into a forest. They were engineering experiments made by evolution. Slow, hungry, massive, and alive. Not only teeth and claws, power can be reach. Power can be digestion. Power can be the ability to turn plants into motion. But where giant herbivores appear, hunters follow. The Jurassic also brings large predators into sharper focus. Allosaurus moves through this world with a different kind of design. Not as massive as the later T-Rex, but deadly in its own time. It had strong legs, sharp teeth, and a skull built for attack. Nearby, Stegosaurus carries plates like silent flags along its back. Its tail ends in spikes. It is not a monster. It is an animal with defenses. Every shape has a reason. Every horn plate, claw, and tooth belongs to a problem. How do I eat? How do I avoid being eaten? How do I find a mate? How do I survive one more season? That is the real engine of the dinosaur age, not movie drama. Adaptation. The Jurassic turns dinosaurs into rulers of land ecosystems, but the story is still not finished. The greatest diversity is still ahead. The countdown keeps moving. 145 million years ago, the Cretaceous begins. The continents continue drifting toward familiar shapes. Oceans widen, islands form, land masses become separated by water. Isolation creates new evolutionary experiments. A dinosaur in one region no longer faces the same world as another. Different climates, different plants, different predators, different pressures. Life starts making many versions of the dinosaur idea. The Cretaceous was not one single dinosaur world. It was many worlds running at the same time. A coastal plain could favor one set of animals. An inland forest could favor another. A warm island could produce smaller forms. A wide river system could support enormous herds. This is why dinosaur diversity became so rich. Separation creates experiments. Time tests them. The fossil record gives us fragments of those tests. A skull here, a trackway there, a nest, a feather impression, a tooth, a bone bed. From broken pieces, science rebuilds movement. From stone, it reconstructs behavior. Not perfectly, but more carefully than our old imagination did. This is the age of astonishing variety. Armored dinosaurs browse low vegetation. Duck-billed dinosaurs move in herds. Horned dinosaurs develop dramatic skulls. Small theropods become faster, stranger, and more bird-like. And flowering plants begin changing the look of the land. For most of dinosaur history, forests were not full of modern flowers. They were dominated by ferns, conifers, cycads, and other ancient plants. But during the Cretaceous, flowering plants spread and diversify. The world becomes more colorful. Insects change with it. Food webs shift again. Even the background of life is evolving. This is where the famous faces enter. Triceratops lowers its massive head. 3 horns point forward from a skull built like a shield. Its frill may have helped with display recognition or defense. Whatever the exact mix, the message is clear. This was not helpless prey. This was a powerful animal with answers. Then comes Tyrannosaurus Rex. The name feels almost too famous now. But remove the movie noise for a moment. Look at the animal. A huge skull, deep jaws, bone-crushing bite force, forward-facing eyes, massive legs, a body balanced by a heavy tail. T-Rex was not just a villain shape. It was a highly specialized predator, a living result of millions of years of selection. It did not need to look like a dragon. Reality was already enough. But the Cretaceous also asked us to update our imagination. Not every dinosaur was a scaly giant. Many theropods were connected to feathers. Some small predators likely looked far more bird-like than old movies showed. Velociraptor especially was not the naked lizard monster many people imagine. It was a small, agile theropod with evidence pointing toward feathers. That detail changes everything. Feathers were not originally only about flight. They could help with insulation. They could help with display. They could help animals signal protect or control heat. The dinosaur world was not gray and simple. It was textured. It was experimental. It was alive with forms we are still learning to see correctly. By the late Cretaceous, dinosaurs had lasted an almost impossible span. They had crossed deserts. They had survived climate shifts. They had watched continents move. They had become giants, sprinters, browsers, hunters, burrowers, and gliders. For about 165 million years, they dominated the land. That number is difficult to feel, so compare it with us. Modern humans have existed for only a tiny fraction of that time. Our cities, languages, and technologies are a blink. The dinosaurs were not a short chapter. They were a volume, a deep history of bodies solving problems across changing worlds. Then the countdown reaches its final day. There is another reason this ending feels so heavy. The dinosaurs were not declining into nothing everywhere. Many groups were still present near the end. Their world had problems, but it was not empty. Then impact turned pressure into collapse. That is what makes the event so haunting. The final chapter was not written slowly enough to be understood. A stable morning could become a different planet by night. In deep time, sudden still means sudden. For life on the ground, there was no warning system, no escape plan, no way to negotiate with the sky. 66 million years ago, the world does not know it is ending. A T-Rex may still be hunting. A Triceratops may still be feeding. Bird-like dinosaurs may still be moving through the brush. Flowers may still be opening under the sun. Then a light appears in the sky. At first, it is just a point. Then it grows. A mountain from space is coming. The asteroid was roughly 10 kilometers wide. It struck near what is now the Yucatan Peninsula in Mexico. The impact formed the Chicxulub crater. In one instant, local destruction became global consequence. The blast released unimaginable energy. Rock vaporized, earth shook, air burned. Tsunamis surged outward. Debris launched into the atmosphere. Some of it returned as searing heat. Across parts of the planet, fires may have spread. But the worst damage was not only the impact. It was what came after. Dust, soot, and aerosols rose high above Earth. Sunlight struggled to reach the surface. Temperatures fell. Photosynthesis weakened. Plants suffered. Herbivores lost food. Predators lost prey. The food chain did not simply break at the top. It collapsed from its foundations. This is the quiet horror of mass extinction. Not every animal dies in the first explosion. Many survive the first day. Then they meet the world after the day. Cold, dark, hungry, unrecognizable. For non-avian dinosaurs, the age of giants ends here. The great sauropods are already gone in many places by this time. The horned dinosaurs vanish. The duck-billed herds vanish. T-Rex vanishes. The empire closes without understanding its own ending. It is easy to imagine this as a clean final page. But nature rarely ends that neatly, because one branch remains. Small feathered, adaptable dinosaurs had already taken another path. Some of them became birds, and birds survived. This does not make the story less tragic. It makes it more complete. Extinction and survival happened together. Loss and inheritance crossed the same boundary. The giant forms disappeared, but one smaller line carried the old world forward. That is why a bird skeleton can feel strangely familiar. Light bones, a wishbone, three-toed ancestry, feathers that connect air warmth, display, and motion. The evidence does not turn birds into metaphors. It places them inside the dinosaur family tree. Not all birds. Many ancient bird lineages disappeared too. But the ancestors of modern birds made it through. They carried the dinosaur story across the boundary. Through darkness. Through hunger. Through a planet resetting itself. That is the twist hidden in plain sight. Dinosaurs are not completely gone. They are outside your window. They are on power lines. They are crossing beaches. They are diving into water. They are singing at sunrise. A pigeon is not a tiny T-Rex, but it belongs to the surviving dinosaur branch. A hawk in the sky is not a symbol of dinosaurs. It is part of their living legacy. Bones tell the story. Feathers tell the story. Shared ancestry tells the story. The age of dinosaurs did not end as simply as we once thought. It changed form. That is the deeper lesson of the countdown. Earth does not promise stability. Continents move. Climates shift. Oceans rise and fall. Asteroids arrive without warning. Life survives by changing, spreading, shrinking, adapting, and sometimes disappearing. The dinosaurs were not failures because they went extinct. They were one of the most successful animal groups in Earth history. They ruled land ecosystems longer than we can easily imagine. They filled the planet with experiments in size, speed, armor, feathers, and form. They became giants. They became hunters. They became herds. And in one surviving branch, they became wing. So when we look back at the dinosaur age, we should not see only monsters. We should see time. We should see survival. We should see a planet that keeps rewriting the rules. A small Triassic runner becomes part of a story lasting 165 million years. A giant predator disappears into stone. A bird lifts from a branch at sunset. The countdown ends. But the echo is still flying. And maybe that is why dinosaurs still hold our imagination. They remind us that power is temporary. Adaptation is deeper. And life, even after catastrophe, keeps looking for another shape. If this journey made you see dinosaurs differently, stay curious. Because the past is not just behind us. Sometimes it is perched above us, watching the sky.